wherever you are, whatever city you hail from, the one thing that really drives me crazy is, well, you just keep trying. One day you're going to make it. Or have you ever thought about maybe getting your music on the radio? And, I think it'd be, why didn't I think of that?
That's a great idea,
I
Susan.
think it's a great idea. That's the hard thing about being from wherever it is that you live. You're not validated. If you're only living and breathing to be validated by others, you're only important because you're famous, then you're doing things for the wrong reason. I'm sure I could have been famous if that were really the goal. But being around so many A-list musicians and artists, I've seen how stardom, fame kills people. You see alcoholism, you see anxiety, depression, which I have depression and anxiety. So it's like learning how to take what people say with a grain of salt. They mean well. They love you. They're trying to express their love. Well, one day you just keep trying. Have you tried that? It's like, I'm fine.
Yeah,
I'm happy because it's well intended, but it can hurt sometimes.
sure.
Exploring life's journey, one story at a time. This is Trailheads with Jim Barrett.
Today, my guest is Susan Marshall, a powerhouse voice in American soul, blues, pop, and rock. From fronting the 90s band The Mother Station on Atlantic Records, to touring internationally with the Afghan Whigs and sharing stages and studios with legends like Al Green, Lenny Kravitz, Lynyrd Skynyrd, and Solomon Burke, Susan's career has carried her from Memphis, Tennessee to the world stage. She's sung on multiple Grammy-nominated albums, appeared on Austin City Limits, Letterman, Conan, and BBC's Later with Jules Holland. She's also served on the Grammy Advocacy Board, championing artists and the music community in Memphis and beyond. Her latest album, 639 Madison, is another chapter in a remarkable journey rooted in soul, blues, and Memphis tradition. So, Susan Marshall, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
This show, Trailheads, focuses on the connections that we have between mental wellness and getting connected with the outdoors. Tell me a little bit about how that works its way into your life.
Yes, please. I need lots of help with my mental wellness. I wish that I did more hiking or, a little bit here and there. My outdoor experience for my mental health is really sitting on my porch and listening to the birds sing, or going in my backyard and watching the bees get it on with the clover patch I provide for them, or what, like that's other than that, my hiking is usually urban hiking. I love to travel. And so when I go to different cities, I'm walking around, taking in the culture. Whenever I get a chance to go to somebody's lake house or whatever, I'm all about just listening. I love listening to the birds. And that does a lot for my mental health, actually.
Absolutely.
Something in the way you move makes me feel like I can't live without you.
So you were a soul singing Memphis music queen, but I didn't even know this when I was doing my research. You're actually born in Utah and moved around a bit when you were a kid, right? Tell me about that part of your life.
Everybody always thinks that I was an Army brat because we moved around so much, but we weren't. My dad was not in the military. Yeah, I was born in Utah. I do not remember it at all. The first day of my life I literally can recall is pulling up to our new home in Eugene, Oregon. And I think I was around 2.
Wow.
And that's what I remember is, pulling up to that house. And then we moved to Whittier, California, and we were there for, I don't know, about a year and a half. And then we moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And each time we would move, I have 2 older sisters, we would leave a sister behind. Because they're much older than me. They're 7 and 10 years older than me. So I really was like the only child when we moved to Germantown.
And that was right before high school, is that right?
Yeah, the summer before I started my freshman year.
We're going to get to this in a minute and talk about our common mentor, You have some good nicknames for him. But
Frank.
also in my research, I saw that your dad participated in barbershop quartets. Did that have an effect on you musically as you were growing up?
Yeah. Just because it's it's just kind of weird how everything stair steps. My dad was 7 years older than my mom, and his mother played the piano and had a beautiful operatic voice. And I actually have a recording of her singing. Being in choir was like, a salve, it's that was the most amazing thing for me. Sara took me under her wing immediately. I remember my first tryout was for Fiddler on the Roof, and oh my God. That was it. I thought that when I was in Albuquerque and I did Oklahoma, I was in the choir of Oklahoma chorus, but it just solidified that that's what I wanted to do, is have something to do with music or entertainment, something. And I loved it. I had the best time that freshman year. It was a lot of fun. It was intense.
So I know Sara Savell, who was the director of the choir, among many things at Germantown. Tell me
Yeah.
about first meeting Sara Savell, because she and Frank Bluestein are two very different people who happen to work very closely together to
Yeah.
accomplish the same goal. Tell me about Sara Savell in your life.
I mean, she was like my mother, and I called her my music mama.
Hum your notes.
We were very close. And I credit her and Frank. They were like my mom and dad, my extra set of parents. And they both mentored me. But Sara really just, her voice blew me away.
Tonight there will be no morning star. Tonight, I'll see my Lord tonight, and the stars will stop within.
And she'd look at me and she'd smile. And she was like, I could tell she was happy with what I was doing. And that made me happy because, over here, Susan Marshall, people pleaser. Hi. So I mean, that made me feel really good. And she really took me under her wing and she got me ready to audition for the Met the year after I graduated high school.
Well, go back. Tell me a little bit about Sarah's background, because she wasn't just a teacher. There was a lot behind that voice of hers.
Yes, there was. Sara, she married DeLa Savelle, and both of them were singers. And they went to Italy to study at La Scala, which is a famous Italian place to study for opera. And Sara also got into the Met, but she didn't end up going because she had a child. Lass and she were making a family, and going to New York was not in the cards, but she made it. And she was good enough, and she had the most sublime voice. It was very frustrating for her because living in Memphis, the allergies and, she was constantly battling that. And I followed in her footsteps. She got me into Puccini and some art songs and just really was very careful with my voice. And even throughout high school, trying to figure out and navigate show tunes that wouldn't necessarily be great for my voice, but she would steer me in the right direction so I would not lose my voice. And of course, as much as we performed, and when you were rehearsing a show when we were in high school, it was like 24/7. There was no time off. And so it was the best training because you really had to learn how to balance all that out so you could have a voice. Having someone who is a professional opera singer with that glorious voice that she had, I mean, it was truly just unbelievable. And I have a recording of her as well. If I want a good cry, I'll just go listen to it. But yeah, I mean, I just felt very special. She made me feel very special. When I lived in Albuquerque, I was bused and I had to go to school on bass. And my chorus teacher there kind of was taken aback when I opened my mouth, and she's like, "Oh." And at one point she said, "You should go audition to be in the chorus of Oklahoma at Albuquerque Civic Light Opera." So I was like, "Oh, okay." That's when my dad first heard me sing. And he took me to the audition. And so I was the youngest member of that. It was I think it would probably be the same thing as Theater Memphis. It's a meeting of pro and up and coming.
Yeah.
So we had a professional director, and it was a big deal. Honestly, that's where my mom and dad kind of, went, wow, okay. And when he had the choice to move, he had the choice of either moving to Denver, Colorado, or Memphis. And they chose Germantown because of Frank Bluestein and Sara Susan. Jenny Conley, who we went to high school with, her mom sold my mom and dad their house, and she was the one that said, "Oh," because Jenny was in Music Broadway America at the time, and she was telling my mom and dad, "Oh no, you need to move here because Frank Bluestein, and he just got Sara Susan to come here, and it's this amazing art department," and so they're like, "Oh, well, this is where we have to move for Susan." They
Wow.
moved to Germantown for me, so
That is
I would have the
remarkable.
opportunity to
Wow.
work. Yeah.
Talk about the reputations preceding them. That's incredible. I had no idea.
Yeah, and I mean, it's when you put all the dots together, it's just like it could have gone another way for me.
Yeah. For Fiddler, what was that experience working with Sarah and with Frank Bluestein on that first show?
So intense. It was so intense. They cast me as Frumacera, and I had to I had to sit on this guy's shoulders. I was also a couple of other little characters. It was beautiful because honestly, I mean, it was being steeped in the Jewish culture, having a glimpse into that world of, I mean, what a beautiful show.
Hmm.
And to try and grasp that as someone who's a freshman, and I'm just like, that's a deep story. That's a heavy, heavy story. You've got all these beautiful songs, but they're heart wrenching.
Hmm.
It's funny, on one hand, and then it's just heartbreaking on the other.
Hmm.
So it was an intense musical that's really, really beautiful, and I made some really great friends. He never treated it like it was a high school performance. That's the thing that got me. I was just like, at first I was kind of like, man, why is this so intense? We're in high school. I mean, God. But And that was like that mindset of mine, I think, lasted for all of a week. And then I was just kind of like, everybody around you who had been with him, it's like, no, 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 no. You take this seriously.
I personally was only in one show when I was at Germantown, but I found it fascinating how Frank Bluestein and Sara Susan were both equally as thorough and took it as seriously, but their methods were very different.
Well, yeah, Frank could, like us, like everyone knows who's been around him, intense. Sarah was just as intense, though, just in a different way. She had this more motherly, nurturing side. Frank was equally as nurturing, but just a complete different way. So yeah, that was you you had the polar opposites, but they would tag team. He would kind of come on, and she would come on. it would be just a little different. And then sometimes it would be completely opposite. Sometimes she could be really like scary and he would be the soft, that's, well, now let's just, I mean, you would just never know.
Yeah.
Because they could both be both.
Mama said, honey, life is high, watch your back 'cause you can never tell. If you think you sink into the bottom of the wishing well, that's why I'm hanging on, yeah, hanging on the ride. Oh, I'm gonna ride out the stormy weather, leave all my trouble behind, yeah, I'm hanging on, yeah.
Is it fair to say that The Wiz was a highlight of your high school career?
It was, and because it was my last show, I cried all the time. Cried, 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 cried. And I remember Frank at one point, it was when we were rehearsing Home, and we were in the girls' gym because he needed some space while they were doing something with the set. And I just started crying while I'm singing it because I was very emotional. And he just went, damn it, Susan, do you think at some point you can get through the damn song without crying?
Living here in this brand new world might be a fantasy, but it's taught me how to love. So it's real to me.
That was such a great show. When I used to tell people in New York that I had been Dorothy in The Wiz, they would look at me like, what? You're the wrong color. And I'm like, I know, but hear me out. It was a mixed cast in a high school, and it worked.
Yeah. When we went to the International Thespian Conference in Muncie, Indiana, which is David Letterman's alma mater, they had this big, beautiful theater that I looked it up, and it seats 3,800 people. I mean, that was literally 10 times the capacity of our high school. Talk about what that was like for you to sort of readjust to that situation.
That place was packed, and people were blown away.
Yeah.
I mean, there was like standing ovations, and people were freaking out. And that was kind of like, you're kind of used to that in your hometown because, the people that were coming to see us where we were in Germantown or even in Memphis, you know, they were people who loved us, who
Right.
wanted to see us do well because they had a vested interest in their community and their children. But this was completely different. We didn't have no friends there. And I mean, theater kids can be very catty and mean. There was genuine, like, that was a moment to
Yeah.
behold. Quite frankly, it was a turning point for me because had I not done this show, I never would have made a decision of where I was going to go to college because there was a talent scout out in the audience. Her name, strangely enough, was Nicole Brown.
Oh, wow.
I know. But I remember her coming up to me after the production and she said, I'm representing United States International University in San Diego, and I want to offer you a full scholarship.
Wow.
It was a beautiful campus, and it was like, I don't know, a 10-minute drive to the bluffs of La Jolla. But it was beautiful. And we had really great, I worked with a really wonderful vocal instructor. Her name was Ermin Murati. One of the earlier productions of Merrily We Roll Along before it had been workshopped and it had just, I think, happened at La Jolla Playhouse. Mark Travis, he was a television director, film. He came and directed us, and he cast me as Mary in Merrily We Roll Along. And after we were done and the show closed, he said, "Can I ask why you're going to school here?" And I just went, "Well, because it's what you're supposed to do, right?" And he goes, "Do you want to be a teacher? Is that why you're coming here to school? Are you wanting to teach?" I went, "No, I really want to perform." And he said, "Well, honey, I got to tell you, you need to leave. You need to drop out of college." And I just looked at him like, "What? Why?" And he goes, "You either have what they're looking for or you don't. No one cares whether you have a degree in musical theater." He's like, "It's not going to happen." He said, I, I don't want to steer you wrong." He goes, "Of course it's your choice." He said, "But if I were you and I have my whole life ahead of you, I would move to New York City." And he said, "I have someone who my wife and she was our agent when we lived there, and her name's Beverly Chase, and I'm going to hook you up with her, and she can be your agent and, you know, go from there." And so I went, "Okay."
What was that like, leaving the first year of college and boom, New York?
It was expensive as hell to live there,
Mm.
even back then. And I just thought, okay, well, that's, I'm done. And I thought I was moving back home. And my mom and dad were like, "Oh, no, no, you're not. You're going back to New York.
Mm.
You're not coming home." And I'm like, "But it's so expensive." And and they're like, "No, you're going back. You're going to figure it out." And my dad said, "Look, I'll help you find a job with my company." And I did. And he goes, "While you're working, you're going to go to auditions." And my mom said, "Yep, but you're going to go to auditions and you're going to figure it out." I'm like, "Okay." I
Now
was
that's
terrified.
remarkable because, but I mean, so many uh struggling, starting out actors or going to the big time don't have anything close to that level of parental support.
No, they really don't. And I was really lucky. And I know that. I would go to auditions, and this one audition, uh it happened because I ran into a girl on, I don't know if it was the bus or the subway, but she was so sweet, and we just struck up a conversation, and she said, "Oh, well, you should come audition. They're doing Pirates of Penzance, at the Light Opera of Manhattan." And I'm like, "Okay." So I went to the audition, and it was a way for me to get my equity card. And they were like, "Oh, well, you're not equity, but we do have an equity program here where you can work towards getting the points you need to become equity." And I'm like, "Great." They were a repertory company doing all of this old stuff like Rudolph Fremmel and Victor Herbert, all these old operettas. And they were also doing all the old Gilbert and Sullivan. And so I auditioned and I got into the chorus, and they were on the old East Side Playhouse. That was my new home. And that's pretty much, while rehearsing one show for 4 weeks, we were performing another show for
Wow.
4 weeks.
Wow.
That was, boy, talk about stretching your brain. It was a great learning place. It was a great family. Um, Expensive as hell there, but yeah, I loved it. Yeah, and then when it got so expensive right before I decided to leave Manhattan altogether, I had moved over to Weehawken, and that really sealed the deal, man. Having to go in and out of the Lincoln Tunnel every day was a soul crusher for me. It was like I just couldn't even bear it. I didn't realize I had such claustrophobia. It freaked me out. Heal me. Come on and save me, baby. Save me,
So
darling.
flashing forward to the 21st century, Tell me what's going on now in your life as a musician and singer-songwriter.
Right now, I am performing up at Itabena above BB King's. There's a beautiful piano up there that I love to play, and I'm up there about 3 times a week. And then I have other concerts I do. Last night, my first ever performance at Dixon Gallery and Gardens. Performed with the big band and the symphony, but never at Dixon Gallery and Gardens. It was beautiful.
You make one false move and baby, you just might end up being history.
I just worked with this really wonderful artist named Denisha, who's a fantastic country artist out of Nashville by way of Houston, your
That's
old
right.
stomping grounds. And then also recently I did background vocals for the film Song Sung Blue,
Oh, wow.
and I did ghost vocals for Kate Hudson
Huh.
for her part.
Wow. You sang with the Afghan Whigs, you sang with a number of other acts and backed up other huge acts. Talk about some of that, being the traveling rock star.
That all kind of came about from after I had my own record deal with East West Records under the Atlantic label. When that band kind of fizzled, that was the mother station, I was doing a lot of background work. Even while I was in that band, I was doing background work. I did background on Lynyrd Skynyrd's 1991 record, and they had asked me to go out on tour with them as one of the honkettes, and I politely declined because I had my band and we were actively like right on the verge of being signed. And had I taken that gig to sing background with them, which would have been so many people's dream to do that, I was just like, I can't, these other people in my band, we've been working so hard to get a deal, and we're on the verge. And if I leave now, I'm dashing all of their dreams and hopes, and I can't do that. But being in the studio, and that's also where I met my husband, at Ardent Studios, playing on all these different, with the Afghan Whigs. As soon as we got back from our honeymoon, he was working on that. And that's how I met the Afghan Whigs, because they were recording at Ardent. But those two things led to me doing world tours, and it's not so glamorous. It's
Right.
really hard.
Yeah.
And there's a saying that, musicians have is like, you're not paying me to do the gig, the concert. You're not paying for that. You're paying for me to travel. When you're on tour, it's the biggest ass whooping ever. It is hard on your body to live in bunks and fly every day. And it's just hard,
Mm.
but it's
And
fun.
interesting that you mentioned meeting your husband Jeff, because he is it fair to say, world-renowned vinyl master as well as being a recording engineer. But as far as vinyl, he's one of the guys certainly in the US, isn't that right?
I would say he's probably top 5 in the world.
Wow.
And that's not just me saying that. That's like other people in the industry that view him as one of the best. And I think that's because of his many years of engineering and producing. He doesn't do that anymore. He has given up engineering and producing and is just 100% working on being a vinyl mastering. He's a really smart, passionate dude. He's got some ears on him, and he really cares about what he's doing. But I knew that from the minute I met him. I met Jeff when nobody else at Ardent wanted to record me and Gwen Spencer. Gwen was the leader of the mother station, the band that was signed to East West. She and I were going to Ardent to see if we could get a production deal through them. Jeff at the time was looking for opportunities at the studio because he was the night guy, and the night guy's duties were to sharpen all the pencils, empty the trash can, keep the bathroom clean, do whatever assistant odd job gopher things that you need to happen at a world-renowned studio. And he would work his way into whenever there was studio time. they would say, well, you know, because nobody wanted to do it. Everybody wanted off. No one wanted to do something for free. And Jeff's like, I will.
Yeah.
And so he was there, you know, it was me and Gwen, and we were recording 2 songs, just 2 vocals and an acoustic. And I remember him leaving the room for a minute, and Gwen said, now that's the kind of guy that you marry. Because she knew my boyfriend, that I had a long common law relationship with.
Yeah.
And I said, no, he's too nice.
Hmm.
I don't like nice guys. So, but we became friends, and then the friendship turned into blossomed. It's like, oh my God, you know, like he's my world. So yeah.
About 4 years ago, I think, you guys came to town, and this is when I was living in Los Angeles, and and I knew that you'd been working with the Grammys very closely for several years, and so I remember we were at a friend of yours let us borrow their house in their backyard near Beverly Hills, and just with okay, it's for those of you who don't live in LA, it sounds very LA, but whatever. I mean, this was Germantown West. We were getting back together, and Jeff was with you, and I remember I was looking at you, and because though Jeff certainly is a social guy, he a lot of times, you know, will step back and have you take the limelight for whatever is going on. I remember I was like, so Susan, what do you got going on here? What are you doing? And you're like, well, he's like, well, Jim, been working with this guy. You probably know him. You know, I've been doing my vinyl cutting, and I was asked for specifically by somebody, and he's an amazing musician. He can be a little eccentric, but he wanted us to come out here and hand deliver what I've been working on. And I'm like, wow, who is it? And he's like, well, it's Bob Dylan. I just remember, did I get that right mostly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeff has been working with T-Bone Burnett on this special album project. And so when the lacquer is done, he needed to take, like, you know, this lacquer to be signed, like a special kind of etching pen, and it's very delicate. You can't mess it up. And so he had to bring it to Mr. Dylan for him to sign it. That was auctioned off at Christie's for over $1 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of a kind record.
Right.
Yeah.
How long have you
Yeah.
guys been together now?
32 years.
Wow, that's fascinating. What's the key?
The key is to have arguments. It is. And then also to forgive very quickly. He's my best friend. And that's really, honestly, that's the key, is that you've got to be best friends.
So you did the rock star life. You were traveling around with these different bands. How did you become kind of the one to embrace Southern Memphis music? Because in addition to performing, you've become quite the songwriter too. So it's kind of an open-ended question. How did all of that come alive in you as an artist and performer?
FM radio, my entire life, listening to the radio wherever I was. You have to understand that different regions have different radio formats, way back then, right? Way back in the dark ages of the early 70s. And it wasn't so niche. And I still have, and proudly have, a very, you know, wide, eclectic mix of music that I love. And I never even knew the word genre until after my record deal. As a little girl, I remember sitting in my mom and dad's Oldsmobile and listening to Edwin Hawkins singers, "Oh Happy Day." That had such a profound effect on me that I had it sung at my wedding. You know, there's songs that Aretha Franklin sang that inspired me. Songs from Al Green that inspired me, that I heard as a young person. And of course, Elvis, although he didn't write his music,
Right.
his performance of covering other people's music, all these things pulled me into this vulnerability of the soul, of sharing someone's essence. And for the most part, I was more touched by the rawness and the realness of Black artists. And I didn't realize that a lot of the music that I loved growing up was from Memphis. And so when I lived here, I still wasn't even aware of it because I was submersed in musical theater. And so after that, after graduating and then moving, to San Diego and then moving to New York, and my musical palette was more and more. I mean, I listened to all kinds of music. And then when I moved back to Memphis, that is the moment I found out that Memphis was the birthplace of all this music that I had been growing up to and loving and going, wow. And I felt so stupid that I wasn't aware of Stax and High growing up in Memphis. It draws you in to be vulnerable and to be joyful or to be sorrowful at the same time. I don't know how to explain it, but it is life.
And as long as we are together, baby, why don't you show some respect to me? If you wanna do right all day, woman, you know I wanna be your woman. You got to be a do right.
You've been blessed to sing different genres of music kind of all over the country and even the world. What's the difference in performing in Memphis versus other cities?
Performing in Memphis is tough. It's tough because Memphis audiences are spoiled. You can go anywhere and hear amazing music, but the audiences here don't really care that much. I hate to.
What do you mean? I'm
it-
not sure what you mean by that. What do you mean?
We're the epicenter, or one of the epicenters. I would say New Orleans is also the other epicenter, but we draw people from around the world to come here because the sound of Memphis, it resonates with people across the world. And yet, when you have that in your life every day, you take it for granted. You know, I always often ask people that, live on the ocean, does it still hold the same beauty for you every single day? Does it still take your breath away looking at that view? And if you are someone who's grown up there, you might go, you just get used to it, So it's not special anymore. And that's what I mean. Some people that live in Memphis realize how special it is. All the musicians do, for sure. But the audience that comes, they only really recognize people that are, you have to be famous from somewhere else. And we, it's, I'm proud to be a Memphis musician. And I know that every single Memphis musician who is proud. But we don't get the validation that we seek until we move away. And people, if I go to Norway or I go to the UK or wherever, when you let people know you're a Memphis musician, people go, "Oh my God." And they can tell you everything. Like, talk about music aficionados that know everything about uh, everything that came from Memphis, musically speaking, culturally speaking. It's kind of impressive. You finally feel seen and heard and validated.
And
But
I think you have that unique perspective now too, Susan, because I know you grew up in Memphis and then you moved away. You went to New York. You traveled the world as a
Yeah.
musician, and then you came home. like that amazing song that you sang, You're Back Home. And
Yeah,
is it fair to say then that did that give you a renewed perspective and appreciation for your home in Memphis?
absolutely. It did. And there's a love-hate. There's a love-hate relationship with wherever you live.
Hmm.
As much as I'm proud of Memphis and love Memphis, there's also parts of it that are, like I just mentioned, that are frustrating. Wherever you are, whatever city you hail from, the one thing that really drives me crazy is, and it still happens to me, and I swear to God, I finally learned to just smile and go, uh-huh. Oh. But it's just like, well, you just keep trying. One day you're going to make it. Or have you ever thought about maybe getting your music on the radio? And, I think it'd be, and why didn't I think of that?
That's a great idea,
I
Susan.
think it's a great idea. Like, that's the hard thing about being from wherever it is that you live and being surrounded by people who view you. It's like, yeah, you're not a big deal because you'd still live here.
Hmm.
You're not validated. And so it's kind of like if you're only living and breathing to be validated by others, you're only important because you're famous, then you're doing things for the wrong reason. I'm sure I could have been famous if that were really the goal. But being around so many A-list musicians and artists, I've seen how stardom, fame kills people.
Hmm.
If not literally, then certainly it's soul crushing and you see alcoholism, you see anxiety, depression. I mean, I have depression and anxiety. So it's like learning how to take what people say with a grain of salt. They mean well. They love you. They're trying to express their love. Well, one day you just keep trying. Have you tried that? It's like, I'm fine.
Yeah,
I'm happy. It's hard because it's just, it's well intended, but it can hurt sometimes.
sure. You've done work in the studio and you've done a lot of live. Have you ever had a song that you have heard many times and maybe you recorded it in the studio? Maybe it's a song that you wrote. Does it change when you're live on stage performing it sometimes? And what does that feel like?
Absolutely. It changes. And last night, me performing with the Memphis Symphony Orchestra Big Band is a perfect example of that.
But I guess I'll never learn, and I show it. If you got a
Bill
heart
Ellis, William Lee
and
Ellis, and I
if
wrote a
you're
song
kind,
called "Oh How the Mighty Have Fallen," and Anna Popovic, who's a Serbian blues guitarist, she's a badass guitarist, is what she is. She covered that song. That was my second song that had ever been done by another artist before I did it. So she did it a certain way, and then I recorded it and put it out. But then every reiteration of that, whether it's live, every single time, like if I play it a certain way on the piano. But last night, it was the big band, and there was this horn section. And my good friend Sam Shoop, he was the one who played bass on that song on my recording. And it was so good. It's just so different because he put in these massive horn parts, right? I've got a whole horn section.
you make one false move and baby, you just might end up being history.
They killed it last night. But yeah, the song had a completely different feel. I get off on that. I want to create something new and fresh with whoever is in that seat at the time.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to me.
It just sounds like pure creative joy, what you just described, having everybody play a role in something that you created and bring their own artistic perspective to it.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exciting to me.
Mhm.
That means the worst thing in the whole world for me musically is when people are just dialing it in and they're on automatic and they're not listening. One of my favorite drummers in the whole world, his name is Clifford Pee Wee Jackson. And I love this guy, and no matter what, if I'm playing piano and he's on drums, I can play a song he's never heard me play before. And he will anticipate, like I'm trying to throw him a curveball so hard, but I just can't do it because we mind meld with each other.
When you start the process of writing a song, well, first, the stereotypical question, which comes first for you, the music or the lyrics?
It's different every time.
Yeah.
It is music will always come from something different. I never know. I never know. It could be driving on the bridge and there's, like there's a rhythm and I'll just start making up something and okay. And I'll try to remember that. Or sometimes it's a lyric. Someone will say something and I'll go, oh, that's a great title. That's a great title for a song. And I'll just jot it down. But it always comes from different places. And then also, different ways of writing mean also to me, I love writing with other people more than I love writing by myself.
Tell me about one of those great collaborations that comes to mind.
My mom had just passed away. And I had already had a ticket to go to LA. And I had a songwriting appointment with Dwayne Jarvis. Dwayne Jarvis was a wonderful guitar player. He also co-wrote Still I Long for Your Kiss with Lucinda Williams. Anyway, we had a songwriting appointment probably 2 or 3 days after I had arrived in LA. And I was so very emotionally raw after my mother passing, as one would be. I called him up about an hour before and I said, "Sweetie, I can't do this." It was going to be our first time riding together. And I said, I'm just a wreck. My mom just died and I just can't. And he goes, "Nope, I'll see you in about 30 minutes. And I went, no, I'm serious. And he goes, no, "Susan, this is exactly the time when you should write." And I said, "But I'm just crying and I can't stop." He said, "Susan, I will see you in 30 minutes, honey. I love you. I'll be there in 30. And he said, "Worst case is we have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea together and I get to hug on you. The best case is we write a song about your mom." And we did. And it's one of my favorite songs. And yeah.
What's it called?
Oh, my soul.
That's absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. So tell me about Reba Russell.
Reba Russell is one of my all-time SHEros. She is one of my best friends. She is the best collaborator of my life. She went to Germantown High School, and I remember when I came to school, I heard legendary stories about the bad girl, Reba Russell, who would smoke cigarettes and the devil's lettuce out in the pines. Remember the pines?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
We
anyway,
call them the freaks out there in the pines when I was
that's right. Well, she was a freak, smoking the devil's lettuce.
Woo.
So I worked at the Unicorn Restaurant, which was owned and run by this lovely Greek family. One of the brothers loved Reba Russell, and all he would do is talk about Reba, Reba, Reba. He took me to hear her one night, and I was floored by her voice. She was singing Pink Floyd. Like, she was one of the only women I knew that would, like, take songs that dudes would sing. She would kill it. Well, Bill brought me to one of her shows and asked if I could get up and sing. And she's like, sure, whatever. So I got up and sang. And then, like, later on in the studio session world, backgrounds, we would work together. She and I have this thing, man. We know each other so well. We've known each other for 33 years. During the pandemic, I missed her more than anything, more than performing and playing piano. I missed doing studio work with her. And we went to Sam Phillips Recording Services, and I said, Reba, we're going to sing 2 songs. Let's record 2 songs. But we were in different places because it was during the pandemic, and we were all separated enough, but cut this live together. I forgot about it, and I was like, we should put this out. We should put this out. We've never, out of all the music that we have sung backgrounds on, different artists, we have never recorded anything we've done. So we finally recorded 2 songs. And it's kind of funny because Reba, she sings blues, grab 'em by the balls, you know? We recorded a song by Rob Junkless, who's a dear friend of ours, called Everything That's True. And then the other song that we recorded was Across the Universe.
Oh, cool.
Nothing's gonna change my world. Nothing's gonna change my world.
I mean, we were crying in the studio. We just love how our voices sound together. So we just literally released those 2 songs on a vinyl single because I know this guy that cuts vinyl.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had to sleep with him to get him to do it for me.
Nice. Well played, Susan.
Thank you. So rock and roll.
There's this beautiful thing that you guys created, the kind of connection of him and you with music and who he worked with, this amazing, legendary performer. And you created one of his album covers in a picture. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah. So we were up in New York, and our friends from Australia, they're like, we want to go where that Bob Dylan cover was shot.
Hmm.
And so we're like, yeah, because I had never been there.
Mhm.
And so we took photos of each other. It was on Jones Street in Greenwich Village. And that's one of my favorite pictures of Jeff and I.
It's a good one.
I've done a lot of work with people will refer to it as the Grammy organization. It used to be called NARAS, which is short for National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences. And then they changed that. They rebranded to the Recording Academy. So the Recording Academy puts on this little show called the Grammys. The Recording Academy is comprised and steered by 12 chapters around the United States. Memphis is one of them, comprised of Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, West Tennessee, and parts of Missouri.
That's a big part of
And
the country
that's
right there.
yeah, back in 2010, I ran to be president of our chapter and I won. And I couldn't believe it. That was 2 years I served. And then I ran for trustee of the Recording Academy for our chapter and won again. A lot of work to advocate for musicians' rights, just small thing that we did besides the award show that we do.
Is it, you
Is
said
we're
that's called the Grammys? That little
Yes, I
show?
think it's called the Grammys. I think they
All right.
call that the
I'm
Grammy
gonna write
Worship.
that down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we do this thing every year. It's called Grammys on the Hill, where we are working to try to get legislation passed to protect songwriters and musicians. And now that AI is happening, there's a lot of need for it. And not to mention the fact that other than, I think it might be Iran, North Korea, and the US, we're the only ones that don't have any reciprocity when it comes to paying royalties for your radio performance. All that money's collected overseas, and U.S. artists don't get that. It's good to be part of an organization that is trying to uplift and better the lives of musicians and creatives. And it's the only organization that encompasses everything that the music industry is: producers and engineers, songwriters, performers. It's a great organization.
Thank you for representing all those.
Yeah.
Here comes your lightning round. We'll
All right.
We'll start simple. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Your favorite Southern dish?
Gus's fried chicken.
Good pull right there. All right. First album you bought?
Oh God, that's a good one. I think it was Aretha Franklin. It was a compilation, so I don't remember the name of it, but it was a compilation of all her music, and that was the first one.
Aretha. Okay.
Yes.
What's your guilty pleasure song?
Baby shark. Do, 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 do. No, I'm joking. It's not.
Okay.
It is not. Anything Cher sang.
Okay. Want to do an impression, a quick share? Have you got a share up your sleeve?
Gypsies, tramps, and thieves. Every night all the men will come around. Let them melt it down. Okay.
Yes. Thank you for that. All right. What's an album you wish you had written?
Oh my God. Joni Mitchell, Blue.
Okay. All right.
So good.
My father-in-law shares a birthday with Joni. I thought that was pretty cool. Exact day. What's your weirdest audience request?
Take it off. Play some Skynyrd. It's like, I bet that's every musician has had to hear, someone in the audience is yelling out.
Freebird!
Yeah, Freebird. I was like, oh, that's so original.
Who would you like to have lunch with?
Oh, golly. Oh, that's a good one. Barack Obama.
Okay. Nice. Yeah.
With Michelle, of course.
Yeah.
Michelle has to be there.
For sure.
Okay.
What's your favorite Memphis venue?
Right now, it's B-side.
Where's that?
It's inside Minglewood Hall
Okay.
in Midtown Memphis.
Okay.
It used to be it's inside what used to be the old bread factory.
Oh, cool. What do you love about it?
It's intimate,
Hmm.
vibey, has good sound. I love the owner. I just like it. It's good vibe. I'm about vibes.
What's a favorite destination outside Memphis?
Portugal, Lisbon.
Yeah.
I love it.
What is your dream collaboration?
Man, why do you got to be so tough? Damn it. Brandy Carlisle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah. All right. You may have to think about this for a moment. What is a 5-word sentence that you've got to encourage the next generation of singer-songwriters?
Just f***ing do it.
I love that. I love that. All right. Cut print. Let's do that. For a final thought, is there anything that you want to say as we close about Frank and Sara?
Right behind me, see that big baby grand piano?
Yeah.
Sara left that to me.
Oh, that is beautiful.
That was the piano that Sara taught me on.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that so much. Wow.
And it gives me, I have another piano in the front foyer that belonged to Jeff's grandmother, but this one, it just means so much to me. And I have a picture of Sara in my front foyer. It used to be back over here, but it was just too big for that corner. Even though Sara's passed, Frank is still here. They're both with me all the time. You keep things with you. You keep feelings and sayings with you. They helped form who I am, and I'm still working on that. I'm still a work in progress, and I hope that's one thing I did learn from them is you're always going to be changing and learning.
Susan Marshall, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jim.